Sold to the Alpha King. Chapter 17. Sunlight found the fortress hesitantly, tiptoeing through high windows as if uncertain it was welcome after the night's turmoil. In the Alpha's private chamber, pale rays reached a window seat where Alara sat wrapped in Ezra's thick traveling cloak. She had drifted in and out of restless half-sleep, but dawn drove the last traces of slumber from her mind, leaving fretful thoughts in its wake. Ezra, sensing her stirrings through their bond, slipped quietly from the bed and crossed the floor on bare feet. Alara did not turn, though she knew exactly where he was by the gentle caress of his presence. He didn't speak at once. He simply gathered her against him, settling onto the window seat with her nestled on his thighs, her head beneath his chin. Through the glass they could see courtyard warriors limping through their morning tasks, moving with a tentative hush that lingered after any great upheaval. "Your heartbeat is too quick," Ezra murmured, his breath warm against her hair. "I keep thinking about Father," she answered, voice small in the hush. "About those chains, about how easily Orith tapped into them. If I am truly the key he needs, what stops him from finding a new chain?" She traced one fingertip along the curve of his collarbone in restless circles. Ezra took her hand, threading their fingers. "Chains break," he said. "Keys shift shape. What stops him is you, and me, and everyone who fought beside us." She closed her eyes. "I feel like I'm waiting for the next blow." A tremor edged her words. "Every quiet moment feels borrowed." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, then pressed his lips to the shell of it. "Borrowed or not, this moment is ours, and we can decide what fills it." He tipped her chin gently until her gaze met his. "Talk to me. Tell me everything." Alara's shoulders loosened. "I'm frightened of being used," she whispered. "I was sold once, and that nearly destroyed me. What if Orith twists my magic and uses me to hurt people I love?" Ezra's thumb brushed her knuckles. "You are not alone for him to manipulate now." He lifted her fingers to his mouth, kissing each one. "If he tries to twist you, he twists me. And wolves do not bend to sorcerers." She tried for a faint smile. "Wolves and white-fire mages." He smiled back, gentle but firm. "Exactly." Then, inside her mind, his voice whispered, softer than sighing wind. "Feel me here. Every breath I take is tethered to yours." The idea of their thoughts entwined so intimately startled her, but the warmth of it sank into places words could never reach. "I feel you," she answered in thought, tentative, like testing a new instrument. "You see? No space for Orith's shadows between us." His mental tone was a tender vibration against her mind. Her eyes glistened. "I didn't know we could share thoughts so clearly." "Neither did I," he admitted aloud, brushing his nose to hers. "But this bond keeps deepening every time we trust it, and I trust it with my life." They sat like that, thoughts mingling, until a knock drew them from trance. Amon's muffled voice spoke through the doorframe. "Forgive me. Herbal oils have been delivered. Lady Alara, you must rest properly." There was unapologetic authority in the elderly mage's tone. Ezra gave a breath of amusement. "Even Amon can't be refused. Will you let me spoil you?" His eyes searched her face, concern wrapped in fondness. Alara managed a teasing tilt of her lips. "Spoil me," she conceded. Ezra rose smoothly, cradling her as though she were weightless. She squeaked and wrapped her arms around his neck. "I can walk," she protested, but the half-heartedness of it made them both laugh. He carried her through the adjoining door. Steam drifted in lazy wisps above a copper tub filled nearly to the brim. Delicate blue petals from mountain gentian floated on the surface beside slivers of dried lavender. Alara inhaled, the calming scent tugging at the knot behind her ribs. Ezra set her gently on her feet, then reached to untie the cloak. His fingers were deft, but slow, reverent, as though each loop of fabric was a layer of old hurt he could remove by grace alone. When the cloak slid away, she felt both exposed and safe beneath his gaze. He met her eyes. "You are more beautiful every time I look." Color flushed her cheeks. She helped push his loose shirt from his shoulders, tracing the silver streaks that glinted softly in the dim light. "These stripes of starlight suit you," she whispered. "Evidence of what we've shared." He chuckled low. "If every mark of magic is a mark of us, I'll wear them gladly." They stepped into the water together, small waves lapping at their waists. Ezra settled behind her, knees bracketing her hips, arms curving around to gather her hair. With patient strokes, he lathered lavender-scented soap along her shoulders, the firm press of his thumbs teasing knots from muscles. She let her head fall back, eyes half closed, and breathed a soft moan as tension melted. "Feels heavenly," she sent without words. He kissed a droplet of water on her temple. "Every touch is an oath." Alara gripped the edge of the tub, savoring the sensation. Warm water seeped into bruises, lifting aches from flesh and spirit. Ezra's hands moved lower, following curves with sure devotion, never hurrying. The steam curled around them, turning the world into fragrant hush. She shifted, turning to face him. Droplets clung to his jaw, glittering. She brushed them away with her thumb, heart swaying at the vulnerability she saw, powerful alpha, yet open entirely to her. She leaned closer, pressing her lips to the faint scar near his ear, a relic from a battle before they met. He shivered. "Alara," he breathed. "Let me tend you now." She lathered soap into his hair, marveling at the silk of dark strands sliding through her fingers. He closed his eyes, surrendering to her care, and she felt his trust pulse through their bond, steady as the drum of waves. When they rinsed and rose, she could not look away from water trailing the hard planes of his torso. Courage fluttered in her chest. She let her fingers map each contour slowly. He inhaled sharply, but didn't stop her. Only watch with molten eyes until her daring turned her knees to water again. With a husky laugh, he wrapped a towel around her shoulders while another slipped around his hips. She pushed it off him. "No barriers," she insisted in a murmur that surprised them both with its boldness. "No barriers," he agreed, voice grown rough. He swept her into his arms, cloak replaced by nothing but air against her damp skin, and carried her to the bed. Linen sheets awaited, freshly changed by considerate servants. Ezra laid her at the center star-eyed, then joined her, propping himself on one elbow. His gaze traced her as though reading sacred script. "Tell me what you need," he said, a tremor of reverence in each syllable. "You," she answered simply, catching his hand, guiding it to her heart. Under his palm, that heart hammered. "Only you. Always." He bent, pressing a tender kiss to her lips, light as breath. She deepened it, coaxing his lower lip between hers, tasting lavender and the subtle flavor that was purely Ezra. Their link flooded with emotion, trust, desire, devotion, weaving into something fierce and pure. Sheets rustled softly as he skimmed his palm down her ribs. She arched, gasping as warmth pooled low in her belly. Their bond magnified every sensation. His pleasure echoed through her bones, her sigh of longing answered by a rumble in his chest. He slid over her, careful, giving her the weight of his body inch by inch. The hush of linen and their mingled breathing composed a song older than prophecy. She traced his spine, feeling strength flex beneath skin. "You feel so alive," she whispered, awed. "That is your doing," he replied, voice throaty. He kissed her again, deeper, exploratory, while she parted her knees, inviting him closer. He moved with exquisite patience, aligning their bodies, eyes never leaving hers. "Ready?" he breathed. "Yes," she whispered, both word and promise. He entered her slowly, and the world blurred, a rush of silk heat, a stretch that burned sweetly. Their gasps merged. She clutched his shoulders, nails digging lightly. Through the bond, she tasted his restraint, his reverence, his aching joy. He held still until her hips urged him on. Then they began a gentle rhythm, rocking breaths into each other's mouths. "Look at me," he whispered, voice catching. "Let me see you take every moment of this." She obeyed, gazes locked, letting him watch devotion unfurl in her eyes. Sensation swelled in spirals, each thrust dragging silken friction along nerves tensed for pleasure. He murmured soft praises. "Beautiful. Brave. My mate." Each word settling into her skin like warm rain. Her release crested, bright as dawn pouring through mountains. She cried out, clutching him close. He followed with a groan of fierce wonder, hips stuttering, warmth spilling as his eyes fluttered shut. Inside her mind the bond blazed gold, ripples echoing outward until tears slipped from the corners of her eyes. Too much tenderness to contain. Ezra collapsed gently atop her, careful not to crush. He nuzzled her damp cheek, whispering, "I feel everything. Everything is you." She smiled, smoothing hair from his brow, then guided him to lie beside her. They curled together, legs tangled, heart slowly easing. Silence settled. No urgency, no prophecy. Only breath and the lingering glow of shared bliss. Minutes or hours later, Alara traced lazy patterns on his chest. "I never imagined peace could feel this strong," she murmured. "It's our fortress inside the fortress," he replied, voice drowsy. She kissed his jaw. "Let's linger here a while." He tightened arms round her. "Always." And lulled by his warmth and the steady cadence of their joined hearts, she drifted into contented sleep, unaware that beyond their door, new threads of destiny were already tangling, ready to weave them back into the wider world. Damien adjusted the leather strap across his shoulder, wincing as it bit into tender flesh beneath bandages. The sun had climbed halfway to its zenith, bathing ramparts in mellow gold. Yesterday's carnage had been cleared, yet traces lingered. Scorched stone, a chipped merlin, flecks of blackened runes on parapet flags. He paused beside the east tower to scan treetops beyond the wall, gaze trained for the slightest unnatural shimmer. Only the lazy drift of clouds answered him. A soft voice coaxed his attention downward. "Commander Damien, still prowling when you should be resting." The healer Seren stepped from the stairwell, carrying a covered mug that sent peppermint steam curling into cool air. She was slight of build but purposeful in stride, copper hair pinned beneath a pale kerchief, green eyes bright with good-natured challenge. Damien cleared his throat, striving for the rumble of authority. "Patrols are short-handed. I am fine." She lifted a brow. "Fine." With her free hand, she brushed near the linen wraps peeking under his jerkin. "The gash on your arm disagrees." She offered the mug. "Drink." He accepted grudgingly, fingers brushing hers. Heat rose in wounded muscles, either from tea or the brief contact. "I dislike being coddled," he muttered, sipping the herb-sharp brew. Seren smiled. "And I dislike stubborn patience. Fortunately, I have practice." She angled her head, studying him. "You always stand alone on the walls after battle." "Someone must." He tried to shrug, but the motion tugged stitches. He swallowed a hiss. Seren's smile turned knowing. "True warriors accept help." She reached gently, pressing cool fingertips to his pulse. The simple touch softened his rigid stance. "Come by the infirmary when rounds finish. Let me replace those bandages." He meant to refuse again, but the concern in her eyes snagged something inside his chest. "Very well," he conceded gruffly. She brightened, gave a small curtsy, then strode away. He watched her go, the afternoon sun painting reddish glints in her braid. A surprising tug of warmth bloomed where his heart sat. He pressed a hand over it, frowning thoughtfully until Lucas's boots thudded close. "Caught you staring," Lucas said in a low sing-song. "A healer's gaze can be lethal." Damien snorted. "Mind the parapet or you'll test the healer's skills yourself." Lucas grinned unbothered, So that is a yes, you like her. Damien scowled at the horizon. I like that she is competent. And pretty, Lucas added, and sets your stoic face on fire. He laughed, dodging when Damien swatted at him with one good arm. Fine, I will leave the mighty commander to his patrol. He strolled away whistling, and though Damien's scowl lingered, a reluctant smile tugged his lips. He resumed his vigil, yet the memory of Seren's gentle chiding warmed the cool wind and echoed pleasantly through the rest of his rounds. Dusk draped the fortress in mauve when Ezra woke to find Alara tucked against him, her breaths slow and even. He watched the curve of her lashes for long minutes, fingers tracing circles on the warm plane of her back. Gratitude swelled. Gratitude that she existed, that she trusted him, that fate had woven her into his battered heart. She stirred, eyes fluttering open. How long did I sleep? Only a few hours, he whispered. Bodies heal in dreaming. Minds too. She sighed contentedly. My mind could stay right here. Then thoughts brushed his, soft as silk. Hungry? He smiled. I believe I can solve that. Aloud, he said, we missed the midday meal, but the kitchens keep soups simmering. She stretched, a languid feline motion that drew his gaze. Food, then a walk? I should show the fortress I still stand. They know you do, he answered. Yet he rose and dressed, handing her a soft linen shift which she donned with rosy cheeks. They left hand in hand, fingers twined, descending stairs where torches sputtered awake. In the great hall, servants bowed, eyes shining with reverence. A hush spread wherever Ezra and Alara walked. But it was no longer tense silence. It was relief and respect and a budding awe. Cook Marinette bustled from her domain with a covered tureen, declaring they must eat her sage rabbit stew at once. Ezra chuckled, guiding Alara to a trestle table near the hearth. They shared the fragrant meal from a single bowl, trading bites, laughter rising whenever broth dribbled down chins to be wiped away by affectionate thumbs. Conversation remained light, teasing about whose spoonful held more meat until both were full and warm. Afterward, they strolled through moon-silvered corridors. Ezra's cloak rested over Alara's shoulders, though the night carried only a mild chill. They passed the infirmary. Alara slowed, eyes drawn to the door behind which Cassian rested. Ezra squeezed her hand. Soon. She nodded, exhaling. I'd like 5 minutes of starlight first. They ascended a narrow turret stair that ended on the roof walk. Stars scattered across a velvet sky. Alara leaned against the crenellation, face uplifted. Ezra stood beside her, and without thought they slid into wordless communion. The sky looks clearer tonight, she said quietly. It looks clear because you are not afraid to look up, Ezra answered. Neither am I. A moment later, a memory flickered across the link. Alara, as a child, staring through cracked rafters at constellations, while Brant's drunken shouting echoed below. Ezra inhaled, heart aching. He responded with his own memory. Young Alpha Ezra crouched over the fresh grave of his first mate, promising never to love so fiercely again. Alara reached for his hand, tears glimmering. We survived those nights, she thought, and found morning in each other. She nodded, smiling through tears. Night deepened, lanterns guttering low as they returned to their chamber. Alara brushed her hair while Ezra banked the fire, and soon they slid beneath quilts, limbs instinctively weaving. Their breathing fell in sync, minds opening like twin doors. The dream took them instantly. One moment candlelight danced on stone walls, the next they stood barefoot on silver-lit sand. Waves glided onto shore with hushes like lullabies. A milky moon painted the water with a shimmering path. Alara gasped softly, delight filling her eyes. I dreamed of a place like this as a child, she said aloud, voice carrying on salt-sweet air. Ezra laced their fingers. Then your dream and mine have met. They wandered along the surf, sea foam curling around ankles with a playful nip. Wind teased Alara's unbound hair. Ezra's shirt rippled open, revealing the gleam of his mark. Above, stars seemed close enough to cup in palms. Alara halted suddenly, tilting her head. "Do you hear that?" A faint melody threaded the breeze, soft, wordless. Recognition welled in her chest. "My mother's lullaby." She hummed along, shaky at first, then clearer. The dream amplified her voice, sending it dancing across the water. Ezra watched, emotion glazing his eyes. "She sings through you." He rubbed his thumb over her knuckles. "I think she would have liked me." Alara giggled. "She would have approved of any man who looked at me the way you do." She sobered. "You never speak of your first mate except in pain. Tell me something joyful about her." Ezra inhaled, surprised by how easily memory rose. She laughed. Loud, unashamed laughter. It echoed off halls. Some nobles called her unbecoming. I called her irresistible. He smiled wistfully. "When she died, silence felt like a tomb. Then, you came, with gentle quiet first and later your own laugh. Soft but steady. It reminded me that sound can heal." He met her gaze. "Thank you." She squeezed his hand. "If laughter saved you, yours saved me when I believed my voice had no worth." She leaned against him as they walked, dream waves kissing toes. They found a patch of soft, dry sand and lay back, side by side, hands folded over chests as if listening to shared heartbeats. Above, constellations drifted, rearranging until stars formed a luminous silhouette of a wolf leaping across the moon. Awe filled them both. "Do you think Asina paints that?" Alara whispered. Ezra considered. "I think our spirits paint it together." They stayed until the dream's edges shimmered. Morning tugged them awake, and they opened their eyes in the real chamber, still lying hand in hand, dawn's first blush sneaking through curtains. They exchanged a slow, silent smile. No need for words. The dream lingered in the softness of their breath. A gentle knock sounded. Ezra tugged on trousers and opened the door to reveal Eamon. Robes rumpled. He spoke low. "Cassian is awake. He asks for Alara." Alara sat up fast, braid tumbling over her shoulder. Ezra crossed and pressed a kiss to her forehead. "I'll be just outside." Down corridors they walked, candles flickering in morning drafts. Infirmary curtains swished aside to reveal Cassian propped against pillows, gray hair brushed neatly, eyes clear for the first time since the rescue. His wrists bore faint welts, but no chains. He turned as Alara entered, every line of his face softening. She crossed halfway, then halted, breath lodged. Words jumbled in her chest. Months of grief. Days of revelation. Tears welled. Cassian opened his arms, expression pleading and remorseful and overwhelmed. "Alara," he breathed, voice gravel behind tenderness. She rushed forward, collapsing onto the edge of the cot, careful of tubes and salves. He cupped her cheeks, thumbs trembling as they swept tears. "I feared I would never see who you became. Forgive the years you lost." Emotion swelled thick. "There is nothing to forgive. You were taken. I survived because Mother's stories kept me brave." She brushed silvery strands from his brow. "You gave me that courage without knowing." He closed his eyes, tears slipping free. "Your mother's stories. She believed the flame in our blood would outshine any shadow. She was right." He opened his eyes again. "I saw you break those chains. Light like I have never witnessed, child." She smiled through tears. "Not child. Luna now." Pride flickered in his face and guilt. "I missed so much. Your first steps, your first shift." His shoulders quivered. "But you found your mate." "I did." She glanced toward the doorway where Ezra waited. "He is patient, kind, strong." Cassian nodded. "I sensed his love even while trapped in darkness, Hold to that, and hold to your own power, for Orith will come again. Alara's jaw set. Let him, I have more than lineage now. She wrapped her father's hand in both of hers. I have a family. I have a pack. Cassian's grip tightened softly. Then the prophecy may yet bend to your will. A healer approached, checking salve levels. Cassian sagged, tired already. Alara rose, arranging blankets. Rest. I'll come back after breakfast. He gave her a frail smile. I will wait. You shine, my spark. Leaving the infirmary, Alara found Ezra leaning against the wall, arms folded, concern etched in the easing of his shoulders when he saw her. She stepped into his embrace, releasing a breath. He remembers me. He called me Spark. Voice shook with equal joy and sorrow. Ezra held her, one palm stroking her braid. Sparks ignite stars. She nestled under his chin, listening to his heart. For a time they simply breathed, letting the fortress bustle around them. Then Alara lifted her head, new purpose gleaming. There is still danger, but I have light enough for all the shadows he casts. Ezra kissed her gently. Where you shine, I shine beside you. He rested his forehead to hers. And the moment this war is done, I intend to dance under real stars with you. No dreams required. She laughed softly, gentle, strengthening laughter, and the hall seemed brighter for it. Together they turned toward morning, footsteps light, souls intertwined, ready to face prophecy, sorcerers, and whatever dawns awaited with hearts unbreakably bound. Ezra waited until afternoon tasks carried Alara to the library to review healer inventories with Aemon. Only then did he slip away, seeking conspirators for a mission of an entirely different nature. He found Marinette in the kitchens, kneading dough with forearms like rolling pins and an expression that softened as soon as she saw him. Alpha, she greeted, wiping flour on her apron. Your Luna's still too thin, if you ask me. She will appreciate your concern, Ezra said, smiling. I hoped you'd help me prepare something special. Quiet, private. A supper on the turret balcony where she and I watched the stars. Marinette's eyes brightened. A night picnic for two. I'll see to roasted pheasant, honey-buttered root vegetables, and those raspberry pastries she always steals when she thinks I'm not looking. She winked. Leave the rest to me. Next, he found Lucas in the training yard, drilling new recruits. Sweat glistened on his temples, but he paused, curious. Ezra lowered his voice. I need lanterns strung on the south turret by sunset. Small, warm lights, nothing that draws attention from sentries below. Lucas grinned, wiping his brow. A mystery mission? Consider it done. Finally, Ezra visited Seren at the infirmary, where she organized medicinal sachets. Could you spare a moment to gather lupin and night blooming thyme? He asked quietly. Alara loves the scent. Serene's cheeks pinked, whether from the request or from glimpsing Damien's lingering glance from across the ward, Ezra couldn't tell. Of course, I'll collect them after rounds. Preparations unfurled through the afternoon in hushes and winks. Ezra checked the tower balcony twice. Lucas's recruits wove twine across archways, suspending glass lanterns that captured late sunlight, ready to glow at dusk. Marinette's apprentices carried platters under linen cloths. Ezra placed a small cedar box at the table's center, fingers brushing its carved lid with mounting anticipation. When everything gleamed with secret charm, he returned to the library. Alara and Aemon bent over herb ledgers. She tucked a stray curl behind her ear, brow furrowed in concentration. The sight tugged affection so strong it nearly buckled his knees. He knocked gently on a shelf to announce himself. Alara looked up and the crease on her forehead eased. Done with meetings? For now, he said. May I steal you this evening? I've arranged something quiet. His eyes spoke the rest. She flushed, but curiosity brightened her. A mystery? I should be free after Aemon signs off these counts. Aemon waved a quill. I will shoo her out myself if needed. Go. Both of you. And no talk of prophecies after sunset, he added, wry but kind. Alara stood, handing the ledger to the mage. As you command, Master Aemon. She followed Ezra out, bemused. They climbed spiral stairs as sun dipped, brushing corridor stones with rose gold. At the turret door, Ezra halted, covering her eyes with one hand. Humor me. She laughed softly. Always. He guided her through the threshold. Warm lantern light flickered across stone, mingling with indigo sky where the first star winked alive. Marinette's feast spread upon a low table draped in deep blue cloth. Carved pheasant scented with sage, glazed carrots, 2 crystal flutes of berry cordial, and a platter of raspberry pastries dusted with sugar that sparkled like frost. Night-blooming thyme and lupin spilled from ceramic vases, releasing gentle fragrance that mingled with sweet pastry air. Ezra removed his hand. Alara's breath caught. Ezra. He watched emotions ripple over her face. Surprise, delight, something softer that left her luminous. She stepped forward, fingertips grazing a pastry's sugared ridge. Lanterns danced in her eyes. You planned this for me? For us, he corrected, voice husky. We fought shadow and flame, bled and burned. Tonight I wanted only peace and sweetness. He nodded to a velvet cushion placed near the ledge. Sit? She did, smoothing her skirt. He poured cordial, the ruby liquid catching lamplight. Handing her a flute, he raised his own. To stolen moments reclaimed. She touched her glass to his, and to the heart that reclaimed them for us. They ate slowly, feeding morsels to one another under the shy eye of the crescent moon. Conversation drifted from trivial, the ridiculous snore of Lucas's new recruit, to cherished, Cassian's smile when he tasted broth, Serene's gentleness calming terrified patience. Alara's laughter spilled often, soft but bright, and each time Ezra's chest filled fuller. When plates emptied and pastries dwindled to crumbs, he rose, wiping hands on a linen napkin. The cedar box awaited, barely longer than his palm. His thumb traced the carved crest, a phoenix entwined with a white leaf. The symbol had cost him hours with the fortress jeweler, ensuring perfect detail. He knelt before Alara, heart pounding. She blinked, confusion melting to wonder. Ezra? I wanted to give you something that is not armor, not weapon, not prophecy. Something simply beautiful, like the peace you bring me. He opened the lid. Inside lay a slender silver chain holding a pendant carved from a moonstone. Within its cloudy depths shimmered flecks of pale gold, like starlight, trapped in frosted glass. The phoenix leaf crest etched atop glinted faintly. Alara's lips parted wordlessly. Ezra lifted the necklace. May I? She turned, gathering wetness from her lashes. He fastened the clasp, fingers brushing the nape of her neck. The stone settled just above her heart, catching lantern glow. She pressed her palm over it, voice trembling. It feels warm. I asked the jeweler to embed a tiny shard of the ward crystal you charged. Your own magic resonates inside. It will glow when you are joyful, and bright enough to guide me home if darkness falls. He smiled sheepishly. I'm no mage, but I can commission clever trinkets. Alara breathed a laughing sob. She twisted to face him on her knees. It's perfect. She cupped his face, eyes shining. Thank you. It's nothing compared to. She silenced him with a kiss. At first gentle, tasting gratitude and berry cordial, then deeper, fueled by the ache of too many nearly lost tomorrows. Ezra's hand splayed across her back, drawing her flush against him. Lanterns swayed in a lazy breeze, clinking glass like distant chimes. Above them, stars multiplied, each reflection dancing in her pendant's glow. Their lips parted just enough for whispered breath. I love you, she murmured, voice raw with sincerity. Ezra tipped his forehead to hers. And I you, more than every lifetime's worth. He kissed her cheeks, eyelids, the gem that pulsed at her throat. She laughed softly when he grazed her collarbone, fingers curling in his hair. The world shrank to breath and heartbeat. Far below, a distant lute strummed as late-shift servants shared music. A nightbird trilled, but only the music in their bond mattered. Ezra's thumb stroked the hollow of her hip through fabric. "Stay," he breathed. "Just an hour longer under the stars." "Stay forever," she answered, leaning back until her hair spilled over a cushion. He followed, blanket drawn around them for warmth more than modesty. They curled together, tracing constellations with lazy fingers. "Look," she whispered, pointing where 3 stars formed a crooked line. Mother called that the Wanderer, ever seeking, never alone. She turned to him. "She would have loved you truly. Then I will wear her blessing in every step." He kissed the slope of her shoulder. "And protect her daughter until wanderers rest." Silence folded around them, filled only by shared breaths. The pendant at Alara's breast glowed brighter, pale gold pulsing to the rhythm of their hearts. Ezra cradled it between thumb and forefinger. "Starlight," he murmured. "But you shine brighter." She brushed lips over his knuckles. "Then light and shadow have their champion." Her eyes reflected lantern flames. "Promise me we'll keep nights like this, even after war." "We will carve them from stone," he vowed. "We will make peace our fortress." She pulled him down into another kiss, slow, luxuriant. His hand slipped under the blanket to find the curve of her waist, her heartbeat leaping beneath his palm. Lanterns swayed overhead, casting gold across bare skin, across the pendant that beat like a second heart. They savored softness, letting hours melt. When finally they rose, dawn threatened again. They doused lanterns, leaving only the necklace's faint glow to guide them down spiral stairs. Hand in hand, they crossed silent corridors, where early servants bowed and smiled at sight of the pendant's light. Inside their chamber, Ezra laid the cedar box on a shelf beside 2 dried lavender sprigs, a shrine to quiet victories. Alara unclasped the necklace only when sleep tugged heavy. She placed it on the pillow between them, so their dreams would share its glow. Ezra curled behind her, arm draped over her waist. Before sleep claimed them, he whispered a final promise into her hair. "Whatever storms rise, remember tonight. Remember love." Alara's answering smile traveled through their bond like sunlight through stained glass. "I will," she breathed. And carried by the warmth of moonstone and starlight, they surrendered to dreams. Together, unafraid.